here's the 10 that I came up with, right? So in order, going from 10 to 1. At number 10, I have Alex Caruso, right? Now, Caruso is a guy who played for the Lakers from 2018 to 2021. The same thing that he's doing for OKC this year. OKC's 35-7. That's what he did for the Lakers in 2020 when they won the championship. Meaning, his impact is, the box score doesn't do it justice, right? He's the type of guy who is getting deflections, playing defense, just kind of flying around, and causing chaos for the opposing team. That's what Alex Caruso brings to a basketball team. And so I've always had just the utmost respect for him. Like I said, now only one championship with the Lakers, and really his position on this list is kind of symbolic, and also the fact that like I said, it was hard to get to 10 really. I should mention the honorable mentions. So there's certain guys who are on this list who they were basically, a couple guys on this list who were borderline too good to be considered role players, right? And so there's a few guys that I didn't put on the list because they were basically too good to. So like Bob McAdoo, right? Bob McAdoo's a Hall of Famer. He won an MVP. For the Lakers, he was a role player, right? But for the Lakers, he was a role player, but he's too good of a player for me to put on any list of role players, right? This guy's a Hall of Famer, right? Same thing goes for Lamar Odom, right? Lamar Odom wasn't a role player. He was just a hell of a player, just a really good player, Even though he was never an all-star, I mean, Lamar Odom was fantastic, and he did things on the court. He's one of those guys that you always looking at, man, like Lamar Odom should be he should average 22 and 12 every year. But he didn't really have, that wasn't his, his mentality or his personality. He was a very selfless player. But, 6'10", left-handed, played 4 positions. He could do everything out there. And he was just so selfless and so great for us. But, Lamar Odom was too good to be. He wasn't a role player. He was just an outstanding player. Same thing goes for Byron Scott. If anybody thinks that, even thought that Byron Scott might show up on this list, like, Byron Scott was just a fantastic player. And one of my favorite bit of Lakers trivia is that Byron Scott was the leading scorer on the 88 team. Right? Not Magic, not Kareem, not James, Byron. And then you have guys like, so Ron Harper, who was an outstanding player early in his career with Cleveland and the Clippers, and then he got hurt, and then he went to the Bulls, and when he went to the Bulls, he changed his game, and he became a role player, and basically the same role he played with the Bulls is the role that he ended up playing with the Lakers. Obviously, when Phil got here, that's one of the first things he did. He said, I need Ron Harper, do the offense, do the triangle, be a veteran, be in Kobe's ear when Kobe was young, 21 years old. And, also we won 2 championships with Harper. The first one was the one where he was the starting point guard and he hit the big shot hit a big shot. I think it was Game 4 against Portland. Or was it game? I think that would have been that was Game 3. But I didn't put him on the list because basically, like I said, it was the first championship was really the only one where he was like a real contributor. But the second one, for like half the year, and then he got hurt. He was like 37, and then in the playoffs, he didn't. He barely got any burn. And it was Steve Fisher's spot by then, the starting point guard spot. After D. Fish came off the bench the previous year, and then a guy like Trevor Ariza. Trevor Ariza was a hell of a role player throughout his career. We acquired him halfway during the 2008 season, and he went on to help us. We saw signs of what was going to come in 2008 in the finals, I think it was, when we lost to Boston. We kind of said, okay, this is the guy who he'd been hurt and he came back and he made a mark, even though we lost to Boston. And the next year, of course, he was a starting small forward as we won the Kobe's fourth championship. But then he left after that, and Ron Artest took his spot, replaced him with Ron Artest, and we went back to back. But Trevor, I don't think we would have won in 2010 with Ariza because Paul Pierce was I think Pierce would have been too strong and too physical for him. But Ron was able to play Pierce a lot. Ron's a lot sturdier, obviously physically. Ariza was tall and lanky. Ron was Ron's a big burly guy. And that could have, when the series was that close, obviously we won by 4 points in Game 7. That could have been the difference in the series, right there. So, but yeah, shout out to Trevor Ariza, an LA guy. And then a guy like, Mike McGee. Mike McGee won a couple titles with us in 82 and 85, I think it was. But, I want to give my respects to him, but he didn't quite make it. So, but I already started the list, like I said. Number 10, Alex Caruso. I said my piece on Caruso. Everybody can see that, OKC will probably be in the right now. I don't know. I still believe in Boston. I know Big Mitch would hate to hear that, but I still believe in Boston. I think they'll get it figured out. See, winning that the second championship is always. Getting that first one is hard, but especially when you're trying to go back to back. When you're trying to go back to back, there's really nobody. Like even the 2001 Lakers, who we went 15-1 through the playoffs, but the regular season was you remember that was the year where Shaq and Kobe first really just had it out publicly, and we pulled it together at the end. They went on this crazy run, but that second one, you have there's ups and downs and peaks and valleys, and now you're the 100 instead of the 100 and stuff like that. So it's hard to do, but I still believe in Boston, but OKC, the way they're playing, if they won the championship, I don't think anybody would be surprised. Chet broke his pelvis, and he's still a little bit ways away from coming back. But Hartenstein's been in there doing, what he does, and when Chet comes back, they're just going to be definitely going to be probably too much for anybody in the West. And then if they make the finals, we'll see what happens. But that would be Alex Caruso's second championship. But obviously that's a long ways away. But Caruso, I have him at number 10. And number 9, I have Keith Erickson, the UCLA product. Now, Keith Erickson played for the Lakers from 1969 to 1973. So he made 4 NBA Finals with the Lakers, Keith Erickson. And that would be 69 against Boston. That was a loss. 70 against the Knicks. That was also a loss. In 71, we lost in the conference finals to Milwaukee with Lou Alcindor. But then in 72, that was, the one championship, the first LA championship, with Jerry West, Wilt Chamberlain, Gail Goodrich. You had Elgin Baylor retiring early in the season. But that was, of course, one of the greatest teams of all time. Went 69-13 and won 33 straight games. And then in 73, we made the finals again, but we lost to the Knicks. So, shout out to Keith Erickson. I have him at number 9. At number 8, I have Brian Shaw. B. Shaw played for the Lakers from 2000 to 2003. So he was a member of the three-peat world champions. I remember, I think it was either during the 02 season or 03 season, the Lakers were basically they had to release B. Shaw temporarily. They signed him back a couple days later, but it was a cap thing, right? It was a money thing. And they released him and then they re-signed him. I guess they had to re-sign him at a pay cut or something so they could They were doing it for cap purposes. And I remember Shaq saying, "Man, when they released, like if he doesn't bounce right back with us, I'm not going to be very happy because if it weren't for B. Shaw, this thing wouldn't even gotten started. The ball wouldn't have gotten rolling." Of course, Shaq was referring to Game 7 against Portland in 2000 when B. Shaw came in that third and fourth quarter, hitting those threes to spark the rally. The greatest, fourth quarter comeback in the history of the playoffs, I guess. And so, Brian Shaw is a true Laker, man. Brian Shaw is one of those guys who, don't be surprised. We'll probably see Brian Shaw in the Lakers building again before it's all said and done. He played for us and he went. He was an assistant coach on the last two Kobe championship teams. So Brian Shaw is a true Laker, and like Kurt Rambis, somebody like that. So shout out to B. Shaw. Now I just mentioned Kurt Rambis. I have him at number 7. Rambo played for the Lakers from 82 to 88, and then again in 93 and 94. The heart and soul of Showtime. Now I thought about having Kurt as high as number 3 on this list, but at the end of the day, he won 4 championships with us, but let's face it, the guys that have ahead of him were better players. So Kurt was, a hard-nosed player who, went on to, Kurt was us, you were expected, 5 points, 6, 7 rebounds at, best, something like that. After he left and he went to Charlotte, but Charlotte was, they were an expansion team. And he had a couple of years where he averaged, he averaged 11 points a game and 89 for them. But, Kurt was really just like a hard-nosed, like hard-working player. So I thought about having him as high as 3 because what he meant to Showtime. Like I said, he was a heart and soul. But I didn't want to put him over guys who were better players. But shout out to Rambo, though, always. Superman. At number 7, I have Kurt's, one of his Showtime teammates, Michael Thompson. Michael Thompson came over to the Lakers during the 1986-87 season. The Lakers had lost to the Rockets the previous season when the Rockets had Ralph Sampson and Hakeem Olajuwon, like one of the first twins, I guess the first Twin Tower duo. And we came back the next year, we were like, man, we need another big man. And, the Rockets, Sampson with the injuries, they never reached that level again with Sampson and Hakeem together. But we needed another big man. And we went and we got Michael from the Spurs. And, of course, we went on to, win back-to-back championships in 87 and 88. And in 89, we made the finals again. In 1990, that was Pat Riley's last year. The Suns beat us, but then in 91 we made the finals again. So Michael, played on 4 finals teams for the Lakers, and won 2 championships in 4 years. He was just a perfect complement to Kareem when Kareem, was at the end of his career and couldn't carry the load down there anymore. And Michael came in and he, was just exactly what we needed. With his post defense, being able to score around the basket. It was, that's one of the greatest in-season additions. Other than Pau Gasol, probably the second greatest in-season addition in Lakers history, in-season trade. So shout out Michael Thompson, who's still, pretty sure, does Michael still, I think he does Lakers on the radio, right? Still. Shout out to Michael, obviously Clay's dad. At number 6. I'm sorry, number, what do I have? 10, 9, 8, 7, 6. At number 5, I have Rick Fox. Rick Fox, my personal favorite of the great triumvirate. So like the Lakers, like I said, the Lakers, the three-peat Lakers, you think of Brian Shaw, Ron Harper, But the three main core guys, minutes-wise and impact-wise, across all three championships, that was Rick Fox, Robert Horry, and Derek Fisher. You know, Fisher, before I continue, I want to say something about Michael Thompson. Michael Thompson, another guy who, he was a hell of a player in Portland, right? And then he ended up being a role player, more so for us. I wanted to note that, Michael Thompson was a hell of a player. When he was the first pick in the draft out of Minnesota. He played in Minnesota with Kevin McHale, and was the number one pick in the draft. But for us, he was a role player. But he was a heck of a player in Portland, where he was drafted. But yeah, back to Foxy. Rick Fox, like I said, he was my personal favorite of those role players. He didn't get as much, maybe acclaim or shine as, Fisher or Horry, because they hit the big shots and stuff like that. But, when Foxy brought, I always remember Phil Jackson in his book, was it Phil's book or was it, I guess it was Phil's book, saying that, he always, Foxy always played inside himself. Like he knew exactly what he was and he didn't try to play outside of that. And Phil loved Foxy, in 2000, Foxy came off the bench. He came over in 97 from Boston. So he played 8 years with the Lakers total. Made the finals 4 times, obviously a three-peated with us. And then after it was, all over, when the dynasty was being broken up, they trade Shaq, let Phil walk, let D Fish walk, and everything's being, now recentered around Kobe. They trade Foxy back to Boston, and Foxy retired. Foxy, his guy was a Laker. He was, Foxy was in it to win championships. He wasn't going to go back to Boston, a rebuilding Boston team. So, but Foxy, what he brought was, defense, smart plays. Like I said, played within himself. He was a tough guy, right there. You think Rick Fox is this, good-looking guy all the women like. And Foxy was a so-called enforcer on that Lakers team. If somebody needed to get tough, it would be Foxy who would get tough. And he was just fantastic, man. I love that guy. So I have him at number 5, right? At number 4, I have Robert Horry. Robert Horry, probably the greatest role player in NBA history. Someone who, another guy who, like Robert Horry as a post defender, he was an undersized power forward, but I won't speak for when he was in Houston. He may have been a little bit more with 3 in Houston. With the Lakers, he played power forward. Even though he was undersized and held his own, obviously I don't think there's anybody in NBA history with more clutch threes than Robert Horry. Not in the Hall of Fame yet, but a lot of people think that he will be in the Hall of Fame one day. Cause I don't think role players should be in the Hall of Fame, but I'm not mad when any Laker legend makes the Hall of Fame. So, 1-2 in Houston, then won 3 in a row with us. Obviously, his biggest shot was the shot against Sacramento in Game 4. If you remember the song "Robert Horry Saves the Day," I forget who the band was or the artist who made that song, but that was a classic. And then, of course, he won 2 more with San Antonio. Hit the big shot in Game 5 against Detroit. So, this is a guy who swung, a couple championships in the favor of the team he was playing for. And he, like I said, he was more than just the big shots, man. The guy, we used to use him to break the press. I remember in 2001, Philly would put on their full court press, and Phil went to he went to Horry to break the press. He had Horry bring the ball up. So he could do a few different things, and What was I thinking? Like I said in so game 6. I'm sorry, that game 4 against Sacramento, he had 18 and 12, I think. And then in the game 7 against Sacramento, I think he had 16 and 12, if I recall. I don't remember the exact figures right now, but and then that game 7 against no, it wasn't game 7. It was that game 5 was it? I think was it game 5. I think he had 21, and I think it was 18 in the fourth quarter in overtime of that game 5 against Detroit. So it's the little things like that get lost because everybody just remembers all the big shots. But I mean, he do more than that. He do whatever it took. You know, if he needed to step up and get you 18, 20 points, he would. Even though it was normally like somebody get you 5, 6, 7 points a game, but he'd give you what you needed. You know. So shout out to Big Shot Bob. Right. Number 3, I have AC Green. Now, AC Green is another one of these guys who was darn near too good of a player to even be on a list of role players. But, really AC was like a 12 points, 11, 8, 11, 10, 11, 12 points, 8 rebounds type of guy in his prime. Kind of like what Horace Grant was, Horace Grant obviously won with us in 2001 and came back in 04 and we lost when we lost to Detroit. Of course, he won 3 in a row. The first repeat was Chicago. And Horace Grant's another type, one of those guys who, I like to think of Horace Grant as a role player, but he was damn there. I mean, Horace Grant was a heck of a player, So AC is almost in that. I think Horace was a better player than AC was, but AC is almost in that category. And he played for the Lakers from '86 to '93. Then again in 2000, obviously he was a better player than during the Showtime years. He won 2 then, and then he came back and won that last one with us in 2000. And AC is AC, man. He's a Laker legend, and shout out to that guy. Now, at number 2, I have the great Derek Fisher. D. Fish, drafted obviously the same year as Kobe in 1996. He played for us from 97 through 04, and then again from 08 through, I think we traded him like right at the start of the 2012 season. So when we let Phil walk, we didn't let him walk, but Phil retired after the 11th season, and the Lakers were like, okay, it's time to break up this core group of guys. And remember, at first they tried to trade Powell and Lamar for Chris Paul, right? And then that was a trade that got vetoed, right? And Lamar just couldn't deal with the Lakers trying to trade him after what he had just, he gave the Lakers his blood, sweat, and tears, right? And I was so mad at the Lakers when they tried that trade, and then because they turned around and traded Fish right after that to OKC, right? And Fish made the finals with OKC. So in total, Fish made 8 finals, but 7 of them were with us. Obviously, he won 5 championships. All the big shots that he made, in his career. Obviously 0.4 shots, but like I legit, and I'm telling you, bro, I've said this before, I do not remember Derek Fisher ever missing a shot that the Lakers really ever that the Lakers, and I watched his whole career with the Lakers. I don't remember. And obviously he did, right? But I don't remember Derek Fisher ever missing a shot that the Lakers really needed. Ever. I don't ever remember Derek Fisher. He had that, you can picture that at 6'1", that high arcing 3-point shot that he had. I don't ever remember him missing one of those when the Lakers really needed it. Ever. I don't. I mean, and just one of those guys, like I said, man, a true Laker, a Laker legend. Now he does TV for the Lakers, I think, with, be up there with James. It's like Byron will be up there. So he's one of those guys that he'll always have a home with the Lakers in some capacity. Love Derek Fisher, man. And then, last but not least, obviously number one is Michael Cooper, the person who inspired this list. 5-time champion, 8 times all defense, 5 times on the first team, defensive player of the year in 1987, and the newly minted Hall of Famer. And like I said, he just got his jersey placed up there in the rafters next to all the other Laker greats. One of the most popular Lakers of all time.